What's up, everyone? Welcome in to a Monday Night Football stream. We're getting started with Buccaneers versus Lions. They kick off in about an hour's time. Then we'll talk about Seahawks, Texans. Super duper excited to talk about this Monday Night Football slate. There's a lot of plays on the line. I am loving some of these lines. I haven't made any official picks before this stream started. I've got some inklings up here, but I wanted to kind of explore my process with you guys, show what I'm thinking before I get into the data, and then after I see what's up. So let's go ahead and start out with this Buccaneers versus Lions game. So for starters, we're going to look at the injuries. Now, I've already Googled a couple of these things. Bucky Irving for the Buccaneers is confirmed out for this game. Meanwhile, you have Teddy Bridgewater, backup quarterback, no question about this. Baker Mayfield's going to play. But Emeka Egbuka and Mike Evans, both listed as questionable here. About 40 minutes ago, it was confirmed that both of these guys are going to play tonight. Chris Godwin confirmed out. Now, flipping, let's talk about the Lions real quick. Their injury report, pretty extensive. Offensively, Taylor Decker is a significant name. He's questionable for this game. Haven't seen any updates about him. But the significant thing that I want to see here is Avonte Maddox, rotational corner. Terrion Arnold, starting corner. Kirby Joseph, starting safety. All three of these guys out. And another guy on this list that I'm curious about, I want to see some more information on him, DJ Reader. Let's go see if he's going to play tonight. News questionable. DJ Reader, 17 minutes ago, according to CBS, green light for tonight. So he's going to play. So significant injuries here for the Lions in the secondary. Arnold, Joseph, Maddox, all out tonight. Meanwhile, Egbuka comes back from missing last week. Mike Evans comes back from missing, I believe, 3 or 4 games. So we're on pace for a shootout here in Detroit. The typical NFL game, let me look at this. Average NFL over under line. Let's see if we can get a good Google search on that. 45.5 is the most common line here. And we are 8.5 points over that line. We're at over under 54.5. It's in a dome. It's at Detroit. We've seen some of the most legendary shootouts there. The Lions are notorious for putting up points here. Look at their team props here. Their over-under is at 30.5. And at home, they've done this in 9 of their last 10 games. I fully expect them to be somewhere in that category. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers defense has been elite over the last 10 games, specifically looking at their 6 games that they've already played this season. 20 against Atlanta to start the year, 19 against the Texans, and that was a late touchdown by C.J. Stroud. The Jets put up 27. That was a really freaky game. Teddy Bridgewater. Tyrod Taylor started that game for the Jets. 31 to the Eagles. That Eagles team is, say what you want about the Giants and the Broncos loss. They're a really good team. The Seahawks put up 35 on them. That was kind of worrisome on the road. And the 49ers put up 19. I think this Buccaneers defense is roughly top 10 defense in the league, talent-wise, especially in the secondary. But versus Detroit, they've, outside of this game in September from last season, they've allowed some points to Detroit, in my opinion. So I definitely think that this Lions team, who's dominant at home, 8-2 in their last 10 games at home, and in primetime, they're 7-3 of their last 10 primetime matchups. And look at what they're averaging: 31, 26, 42, 26, 34, 40, 31, 31, 38, 17 to the Chiefs a few weeks ago. That was on the road. At home and in primetime, it's even better. 26, 42, 24, 26, 42, 34, 31, 31. So this Lions team not only shows up at home, they show up in primetime. The Bucs in primetime, I don't believe they show up nearly as well, right? Let's go look at, let's see here. The Bucs in primetime are 2-8 in their last 10 games. Now, some of those I believe were without, no, actually all of them include Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. On the road, They're 6-4 in their last 10. That was all the way back to 2021. So just on the road, recently they've been pretty good, 7-3 in prime time, 2-8 in their last 10. So we'll have to wait and see what Baker Mayfield looks like. Looking at the recent primetime game here of this season, I believe this was a Monday Night Football game versus the Texans. Baker had that long third down conversion towards the end of the game where he gets late hit, I believe, by CJ Gardner-Johnson, and he gets up, talks smack to him, and then goes on to win that game. Very impressive. Overall, though, these matchups are primed for a shootout here. Over under 54. I believe that the over is going to hit. I don't know about hitting this line at 54. That's a lot to ask for. I mean, that's a 30-27 matchup. But both of these teams are really primed for this type of offensive action. And we've already seen both of these teams get into a couple shootouts so far this season. 37-24 for the Lions, 38-30 versus the Ravens, 52-21 for Chicago. At home, let's look and see how often in the last 10 games that game's going over 54.5. So we'll go to the over-under screen here. At home, the Lions, they are 7 of their last 10 home games are over. Prime time, 6 of their last 10 go over. The Buccaneers on the road are about 50-50. There's a push in there as well at 54. In prime time, they're actually 3 of 10 with the push there at 54 from last year. So this Buccaneers team recently has been going over. They've gotten into several shootouts so far this season, 29, 27, 31, 25, 38, 35. I definitely think we're here for a shootout tonight. So first play of the night is going to be over 54. I think both of these teams, considering the fact that the Lions are unbelievable offensively at home and the Buccaneers defense has kind of been letting up a lot of points. I said they're elite, but they haven't proven that statistically in the last, 4 games, I guess. 29 or 27 to the Jets, 31 to the Eagles, 35 to the Seahawks. I think the Lions can kind of pick them apart. They've been known to do that for years and years and years. Hold on. I've got actually a few people in the chat that have joined in. My apologies for missing these. I got Hefty Lefty. Shout out to my buddy Jeff. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Jeff. And go Packers. How about it? Pascal, let's see. Little late. Did we talk about Rachaad White yet? We have not gotten there, but we will. Pascal, shout out to Mike Washington. Hit that over 55 yards on Saturday in the first quarter. Hell of a game there for Arkansas. A little bit off topic here. I definitely think that Bobby Petrino is going to get that Arkansas job, but that's just an offhanded comment there. I got Elijah Taylor in the chat, a dear friend of mine. Lions have this all the way. Baker is washed. Kind of a hot take considering I think Baker Mayfield is second or third right now in the MVP odds, my friend. But hey, call your shot. I like it. D-Bet says, what's up? Good luck. Down 15 in PPR. Who should I start? Evans or Jackson Smith and Jigba? Sir, this is not advice. This is like I'm not going to say a guarantee because there's no guarantees in football, but I am starting Jackson Smith and Jigba in this matchup versus the Texans. Although the Texans have been very good against the pass so far this season. We can go and look. They are second in the league in allowing reception touchdowns, 138 yards given up to receivers. That's 11th in the league. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba currently. Now I did mention that the DBs for the Lions are out this game. Oh, man. Okay, now that I'm starting to think about it, it's getting a little tougher to think about. I initially said Jackson Smith and Jigba just because of how unbelievably dominant he's been. Let's see here. Let's take a look here. Here he is. I mean, so far this season, looking at it, let's look at his last 5 games. He's averaging 114 yards, 6.5 catches a game, a touchdown in 3 of his last 5. Ooh. You know what? Honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with either of them. I lean heavily towards Jackson Smith and Jigba just because Mike Evans is coming off of injury. That's what I'm worried about if you asked me. how healthy is Mike Evans? I don't think anybody really knows that question and won't know it until Monday Night Football starts. Jackson Smith and Jigba, on the other hand, let me double check the injury report, make sure I didn't miss anything here. Let's see. Yeah, JSN is not on the injury report. He's fully healthy, and he's already averaging all the production. The eye test is there for me. I know he's going up against the Texans defense. They're very stout, but I do think that he will receive the lion's share of the targets. Whereas for Mike Evans, I don't know that as of right now because I want to talk about the rookie, Igmeka Ikbuka. This guy, he got injured in that San Francisco game, but has been unbelievably dominant so far this season as a rookie. 5 touchdowns. He's averaging 78 yards per game, 4.5 catches. This guy has been tremendous for the Buccaneers. That game versus the Seahawks, he's basically the reason they won that game. So, Cam, 0-21 on bets so far. What's a safe bet to get me going? That's a good question, Cam. 0-21. You know what? I won't even think that that's bad. I have been there and done that. I've had my cold streaks. I'll give you several picks for tonight that I do think not only have a chance of going through, but also just produce good value. In my opinion, it's not about whether or not you continuously get X amount of picks right in a row. It's about where you find the value. And so I'm going to take a little side show here from what we're talking about here, Monday Night Football. And I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm going to pull up my overall betting record for this year, this football season so far, college football and NFL combined. So let me stop my screen share and I'll hello, everybody. Wow, that's a big share of my face. But look, I have done all of this using the doinksports.com research, the analytics part of the website here. So I started off and on, right? We see early in September and even late into September, we had good nights and bad. Speaking of Cam, sir, look at this. 0-20 2 weeks ago in football. But overall, we're really on a heater recently. Thursday night football, college football, that's a combined up 30 units. But consistently here, using the Doink Sports tool, we are getting winning bets. But it's not by a wide margin. 206 correct picks, 193 incorrect picks. So we're at a 51.5% correct percentage. The difference is you don't go and take these massive minus bets. You don't go minus 170, minus 180. Those only have around a 57 to 58% implied probability, meaning that every single time you hit that at 58%, you're only receiving 42% of your money back, meaning you have to hit that at a 62. I think you have to hit it perfectly or somewhere around like a 58, 59% chance, right? So this number, instead of being 51, has to be 58 or 59%, which if you're doing this long-term and as consistently as I've been doing, we're talking 399 picks since the beginning of September, right? It's really hard to do that long-term, hit it 58, 59%. If you have somebody that's doing that, damn, bro, hop off the stream, go see what they're picking because they know more ball than I do. But this is the winning formula, in my opinion, long-term. You take slight plus odd plays. We're talking like plus 110 to like plus 180. They have an implied probability of, I believe, 47 to 48%, something along those lines on average, right? And you have to hit them at a 51 to 52% rate. That's doable if you know ball and you know what's going to happen. And so I use, my combined knowledge of updates on players, what I think players do and then using the Doink Sports tool, which we'll go back to now. Let's stop our screen share, go back to the Doink Sports page. It's a combination of both. You got to know ball and you have to use doinksports.com to see these kind of results, in my opinion. So go check it out for yourself. It's free. It's it's free to look at Monday Night Football tonight, right? That's the free part. If you like it, go look at the subscription services. I won't lie to you. If you don't do this, consistently, it might not be worth your time. But if you want to be a consistent bettor across NFL, college football, NBA, in my opinion, there's no other tool that does it better than doinksports.com that I've seen. Be sure to go check it out for yourselves. Use my code at the bottom if you're interested. Plizont, that's PLIZONT for 25% off. I am trying to be 1,000% transparent with you guys. Hefty Lefty's talking about transparency is all he needs. That's all I want to be for you guys. Transparent as possible. I want you to gamble responsibly, and I want you to do it by educating and leveraging every play you can get using the doinksports.com tool. So go check it out today for Monday Night Football. Now let's actually get into my analysis here for this Buccaneers-Lions game. We're 45 minutes away from kickoff. I think for starters, the Buccaneers are going to be slinging the piss out of the football. Baker Mayfield is without Bucky Irving. The Lions are without two of their big-time corners, their starting safety. Their defense has already been slightly suspect in some of their games. Looking at the sides tab here on Doink Sports, let's look at what the Lions have allowed. 30 to Kansas City, 24 to the Bengals. Now, the Browns game, that Browns offense is atrocious. Looking at competent offenses, the Ravens, 30 points. The Green Bay Packers, 27 points. And these are all games let's look at the stat sheet here for Jordan Love. That's rushers, passers. Jordan Love only completed 16 passes, but for 188 yards, meaning the Lions are allowing explosive plays. The Buccaneers thrive off of explosive plays. The average longest reception for Emeka Egbuka right now is 37.5 yards. He had a 30-yard reception, 77 and 57 in 4 of his 6 games that he started. Mike Evans, also known for his explosive plays and his red zone threat. This is why I think that Baker's going to lean on both of his reliable pass catchers tonight. Not to mention, Sterling Shepard is another guy that, in my opinion, is a reliable option for the Buccaneers. Right now, throughout this season, he's roughly averaging 3 catches, 40 yards a game. He scored a touchdown versus the Seahawks with Mike Evans being out. Now, with Mike Evans being back, it's probably going to look a little differently. I don't imagine that he's going to get to that 3 or 4 catch mark. His 2.5 catch marks at minus 120, completely staying away from that. Cade Otton, he has been a reliable option for the Buccaneers with Mike Evans out. 3, 4, 5. 81 yards, 51 yards. His line's at 28. It's a little suspect to me. What I do like about the Buccaneers right now, Emeka Egbuka, his line's at 4.5 plus 130. I don't hate that at all. I think Baker Mayfield, let's look at his line here. Baker Mayfield's completion line is at 22.5. Emeka Egbuka is receiving consistently 22.5% of the target share. He got 17% versus the 49ers. I think he missed some of that game due to injury. So 22% of the target share here. And if Baker's going to complete 23 passes, which I definitely think he will, 23 times 0.22 is 5. So his line's at 4.5. It's plus 130 at ProfitX. Let's go look at a major book here. DraftKings has got it plus 121. That's the first prop that I'm going to be looking at here. That's not an official pick. That's just something I think has a lot of value. Over under 51.5 yards, that's where I'm more likely to find the line that I want to go with here. Specifically, I want to talk about, over 59.5 plus 135. I like it. He's averaging 78 yards per game, well over that line. He went up against an elite secondary in Houston, only caught 29 yards. D-Bet says, can't find your Twitter. Oh, sir, look up Doink Sports on Twitter. That's where I am streaming on here. If you want to find me, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Plizont, Plizont. Those are the 3 places that I social media. So back to this, though. Over 59.5 reception yards for Emeka Egbuka. This is my first official play of the night, plus 135 using DraftKings. Let's see what other places you can find that. Track the bet here. Let's look at other sports books. FanDuel's got it plus 134. Fanatics got it plus 130. So Emeka over 59.5 reception yards plus 135. If you want to go bigger, go big or go home. I'd be looking at this 79.5 line. He's hit it in 3 of his 6 games, like I said, versus this 49ers team and versus this Houston team. That's an elite defense. That's a game that he got injured in. Let me go make sure that I got that right. Emeka Egbuka injury 49ers. Let's see. Yes, he did suffer a hamstring injury, and that's why he was questionable for this game. So if you really want to go big or go home, 79.5, I like it. He's right at that average, so this is his first game, right? Caught 67 receiving yards. An elite defense in Texans, 29 receiving yards, not great, but a touchdown. 85, 101, 163 in games that he's played the full amount in. So I like 79.5. My official pick, though, is going to be 59.5. Another important reason why you want to use Doink Sports is you get to compare lines. Key factor right here. If you're using Hard Rock and you have a DraftKings account, you don't want to have to go back and forth between the apps. Just look at Doink Sports, right? I told you to take Emeka Egbuka over 59.5. Hard Rock doesn't have it. Hard Rock has it at 64.5 plus 115. So not only does Egbuka have to catch 5 more yards, but you get 20 points of less value. That's 20 cents on every dollar that you spend. $20 on every $100 that you spend. Important factors here. So 59.5 using DraftKings plus 135. That's the first pick of the day. Let's keep going because I believe I can find a good amount of more value. And quite frankly, guys, transparency or all the transparency I can have, I'm going to try to keep this stream going as long as possible. Quite frankly, I got to cook dinner for my wife in just a little bit. But if this stream goes over 6, it goes over 6. We're going to cover all the Bucks Lions picks before that 6 o'clock kickoff to make sure that you guys get it. Let's continue, though. So we've got Emeka Egbuka over. Let's look at some Lions props here because we haven't really talked about the Lions yet. Jared Goff has been limited. And when I say limited, I'm not talking about he's been playing poorly. He's actually been playing pretty damn good, right? We see 1, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions on the season. So he's been playing elite professional football for the Lions this season. But when I say limited, I mean limited as in the amount of passes that he's throwing per game. And quite frankly, some of that has to do with the fact that the Lions are just dominating in some of these games. They went up huge on the Bengals. They went up big on the Browns, big on the Bears, and then they had a come from behind victory, but it was because they were gashing the Ravens in the run game. So Jared Goff is not, and you see the one game that they were down big in early on was that Packers game, and you see Jared Goff is throwing the ball 39 times. That's not the winning formula for the Detroit Lions to throw the ball a ton. They want to establish pure and utter dominance on the ground. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, the 1-2 punch is the key for that. So looking at their lines here, in the last 6 games, Jahmyr Gibbs' line is at 57.5. He's hit that in 4 of his 6 games. The games that he didn't versus the Bengals, where I believe he didn't play the 4th quarter, versus the Packers, where they went down huge. But looking at the Bears, he hit it. The Ravens, he hit it. The Browns, he hit it with an elite defensive line with Cleveland. And then the Chiefs, he also did it with, I think, a Chiefs defense that's not that bad. Now, you see here that the Buccaneers have been pretty damn good at stopping the run. I mean, they held Bijan Robinson to 24 rushing yards. They held Nick Chubb to 43 on 12 carries. Breece Hall to 21. Saquon Barkley, 19 carries, 43 yards. Kenneth Walker, though, had a pretty good day. And then Christian McCaffrey had a pretty good day. I definitely think the weakness to this Buccaneers team in terms of running back position is getting them involved in the pass catching game. Look at these lines right here. Bijan, 6 catches, 100 yards. Breece Hall, 4 catches, 31 yards. Saquon Barkley, 4 catches, 31 yards. Christian McCaffrey, 7 catches, 57 yards. So what I do like here is both of these running backs to get involved in the pass catching game. So I like 26.5, or do I like 9.5? I love 9.5, And the reason that I say that is I think David Montgomery is going to get a little bit more run than Jahmyr Gibbs ends up getting. Let me go and double check because I see David Montgomery. This is a part that you have to do. You got to educate yourself a little bit more beyond the website. David Montgomery only receiving 4 catches or 4 touches in the run game for the Chiefs. Let's go take a look and make sure that David Montgomery doesn't have some kind of injury right now. Let's see. I'm doing a quick Google search. Lions want to give, this is as of 4 days ago. This is the Detroit News. Lions want to give David Montgomery a bigger piece of the pie. So I think David Montgomery is going to be more involved tonight. You got to use some outside information here. The line is at 9.5. I would take over here. And you can get plus odds 10.5. Love that. Montgomery over 10.5 receiving yards, plus 115 on Fanatics. Sorry, waving hello to my wife. She just got home from work. Anyways, I also like Monty over, maybe not over 10.5 because that's a lot. I mean, he's done it barely in some of these games, 11, 11, 12. He did it 18 times versus the Bengals, but that, once again, that Bengals game was a blowout where he was getting a lot of the late game run share. I think he's going to get around 8 or 9 touches tonight. He averages around 4.5 yards per carry. So that's around this line. I would kind of stay away from this. I mean, he could explode like he did versus the Ravens. But looking at this, 11 attempts for around 80-ish yards. That's still a pretty good game. That one attempt for 72 is important to take a look at here. But the thing that I like here is just kind of going off a whim based off what I see here from the Bucs. They are allowing running backs to get involved in the pass game quite often. The Lions reportedly want to give David Montgomery a bigger share of the pie. They got him 2 catches last week versus the Chiefs for 37 yards. So successfully, I think if he can catch 1 or 2 balls, he goes over that 2.5 line or 10.5 line, and it's plus odds. So plus 115 is great, as you can see here via Fanatics. So that's the line I'll be taking there. Now let's look at some receiver props. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, statistically speaking, has not really had a down year, but it hasn't been as, I guess, explosive as you would think. Now, he's not a deep threat. You know, you see some of these reception longs here, they go over. That's not because he's running deep routes. It's just because he's unbelievable with the ball in his hands. He can just create explosive plays off of short routes. It's really impressive to watch him work. He is a route surgeon. Yeah, he's a surgeon. When he gets in there and he's surgical with his footwork, his body placement, his ability to read the defense. That's what I like about Amon-Ra. His catches is at 7.5 plus 112. Let's see what a big sports book has, because this is Pinnacle. ESPN's got it plus 110. I don't hate that, but I don't love it either. I mean, he's teetering this line in almost every game that he's played so far this season. 9, 7, 7, 8, 9. If there was something consistently where he was receiving more than like 11 targets per game, then I would say yes. This game, I don't know. Like I said, the Lions, their winning formula so far this season is Jared Goff not passing the football and using their backs. Amon-Ra has been extremely successful so far this season. I mean, he has 6 touchdowns. He has multiple 100-yard games. I don't love it. I don't love any of these props right here. Let's look at Jameson Williams, another guy who's kind of hit and miss, right? 2 catches, 2 catches, 2 catches, 1, 6 catches for 66 yards. His line's at 52.5. He hasn't done it in 4 of his games. But the difference is this is a boomer bust guy. This is not somebody that I could say, oh, I promise you that Jameson Williams is going to go under this line. I can't promise that because, like I said, I mean, he gets this 64-yard catch against the Bears. He got a 41-yarder, an 82-yarder. This is an explosive play guy. So if you're going to look at anything here, maybe take the under 4.5 is minus 286. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Anytime touchdown, plus 210. I don't hate that. Now, Isaac, I believe his name is pronounced Tesla, has gotten a lot of buzz for the Lions, especially in the preseason. Obviously, not a guy where that's translated to the NFL, just 3 catches averaging 9 yards per game. Couple touchdowns, though. That's kind of interesting. Sam Laporta has been probably the second go-to guy in this passing attack. His line is at 4.5 catches. Another questionable line, his line is at 48.5. See, now the difference here with him and Jameson Williams, his line is at 3.5 catches and 52 yards. So you can clearly see that they're saying, oh, less receptions, but more yards. Whereas with Laporta, you've got more receptions, less yards. So if I'm likely to take anything here, here's a good line. Fanatics plus 100 Sam Laporta over 49.5 yards. I think that's a plug and play right there. Let's look at touchdowns here so I can look at the Buccaneers against. They're averaging 46.67 yards allowed to tight ends. I like that for Laporta because he is the primary target. The Lions, looking at their touchdowns here, we'll come back to this, but let's keep looking at this player prop for Laporta. Let's get down back to him. He's an elite weapon. 6 catches, 79 yards, 5 catches, 92 yards, 5 catches, 55 yards. I think if he does indeed catch, oh, wow. Literally, since I started talking about it, 49.5 yards via Fanatics has completely disappeared. It's now minus 110. Shocking to say the least. So, I would still look at that 49.5 minus 105. It was plus 100. Now it's minus 110, minus 105 via Hard Rock. I don't hate it. I guess I would be more inclined to look at this 4.5 catches. Good question here to think about. We'll come back to this. Let's look at Brock Wright. Nothing right home about, and that's the end. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say Hard Rock has got the best line here at 4.5 catches. We'll go Sam Laporta over 4.5 catches. Plus 100. The Buccaneers have allowed it in their last 2 games. Before that, they had played, let's look at Laporta real quick. Here's Laporta. They played Dallas Goedert, allowed 4 catches. Mason Taylor, a rookie, 4 catches, 7 catches given up to Kyle Pitts. AJ Barber, a rising tight end in the league. And then Jake Tongues, West Coast offense, very similar to what the Lions scheme is drawn up here. They have a West Coast-esque offense, and so I think Laporta will thrive against the Buccaneers. Let's go over 4.5 catches. If you really want to go something crazy, I'd go over 59.5 yards, but we don't have the statistics to back that up. So the 4.5 catches is by far the best play here. Now let's go look at some anytime touchdown plays, because right now we've got 3 plays here for Monday Night Football, Buccaneers Lions. We've got Emeka Egbuka over 59.5 yards, David Montgomery over at 10.5 receiving yards, and Sam Laporta over 4.5 catches, all plus odds there. So let's look at some anytime touchdowns here. We'll try to find some value. So Mike Evans plus 125. The Lions have allowed a hell of a lot of touchdowns here to wide receivers and tight ends. Cade Otton is sitting at plus 360. But looking at the red zone target share, when Mike Evans plays, I mean, damn, he's the guy. I think versus this very weak secondary in Detroit, Mike Evans is going to score a touchdown. Now, Novik's got it plus 125. I bet a major book has got it closer to 100. Yeah, major book. Underdogs got it 116. DraftKings 110. FanDuel 110. Mike Evans has only scored 1 touchdown on the season, but he is the resounding red zone target when he plays. I think he's going to tonight. I think Baker Mayfield is going to end up being that guy who has to sling the rock a ton tonight. I'll go over a touchdown here for Mike Evans. I mean, let's go back and look at his scores last season, because we'll get a better feel on it, right? Let's look. Versus the Falcons, 0, Houston, 0. These are from this year, last year. Touchdown, no. 2 touchdowns, no. 2 touchdowns, no. Touchdown. So a 50-50 chance truly on whether or not he gets a touchdown in a game, right? So he gets multiple touchdowns here, but we're not looking at that. We're looking at, does he get targets? Now, what you can see here is when he gets 9 targets, 2 touchdowns, 11 targets, 2 touchdowns, 12 targets, a touchdown. This would be an off game here. 7 targets, just 1 touchdown. 9 targets, 1 touchdown. 11 targets here versus the Texans, but talked about it a lot today. The Texans secondary is 100% elite. The Lions secondary is not. They are shot in terms of injuries. They're missing two of their starters in the corner department. They're missing their starting safety in Kirby Joseph. So I like Mike Evans anytime touchdown. Emeka Egbuka, a little more questionable. He gets 11% of the red zone target share. He's averaging just, a third of a target in each game. Now, he has scored the most touchdowns out of anybody playing tonight, and his line is somewhere around major sports books 145. I don't hate that either. Let's see. What we might do is we might just plug and play all three wide receivers to score a touchdown tonight, because I genuinely think that all three of these guys might catch one. I mean, now Sterling Shepard's only caught one touchdown on the season so far, but he could definitely be a red zone target. That's a good question. Do I want to go all three? Kate Otton's at plus 310. Rashad White's at plus 108. I'm thinking. I'm thinking we're going to go all three. We're going to go all three anytime touchdown, just because I think Baker Mayfield's going to be throwing the football. Emeka Egbuka, his best odds was anytime touchdown plus 145 using DraftKings. Mike Evans is plus 116 using Underdog. Let's see, plus 145 DraftKings. And then you see here Sterling Shepard plus 360. Now, the reason that I do this is because I do think at least one Buccaneers player is going to catch a touchdown here. It's going to be one of these three guys, and I'm almost getting 1.5 for Egbuka, which would cover about 1.5 for these other two. And what I'm banking on here is that another Buccaneers receiver is going to catch a touchdown. So if two of these three guys get a touchdown grab tonight, it's plus money no matter what. Now, what really could happen is we get lucky, and the only guy that catches a touchdown is Sterling Shepard, and he covers all three of these. My bet here is that Baker Mayfield, who's going to be throwing the rock, because number one is running back one is out for tonight. And number two, the Lions secondary is extremely weak. I definitely think he's going to be throwing the football. Let's look at Baker Mayfield and what he's done so far this season. Let's see here. Baker. Let's see. He's thrown 2 touchdowns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of the 6 games so far this season. And then in the game that he didn't, I think Bucky Irving, who we can't see right now, but Bucky Irving had 2 touchdowns in this game versus the Jets. Bucky Irving's out. So I definitely think we're going to see this 2 touchdown. The Lions are allowing 2+ touchdowns in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their games. And in 3 of their 6 games, 5 out of the 6 games, they're allowing 2 touchdowns. And in 3 of their 6 games, they're allowing 3 touchdowns. Lamar got 3, Joe Burrow got 3, Patrick Mahomes got 3. Baker Mayfield is in the conversation with those 3 guys. Or that wasn't Joe Burrow, that was Jake Browning. But regardless, Baker Mayfield is in the conversation with Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. He's third in MVP right now. I definitely think he's going to throw 2 touchdowns, and I'm banking that he's going to do it to his 2 wide receivers. So that's my wager here. 2 touchdowns from Baker Mayfield. I'm not actually taking that line because it's minus 175. Not worth your time. I would look at taking Baker Mayfield over 258. If you could get it plus at, that's 269. Not worth it. 10 extra yards. Not looking at that. So 6 plays is enough for this Monday Night Football here. This is at 6 o'clock. Make sure you get them in, guys. Take a look at Monday Night Football. These are the 6 picks that I have. Emeka Egbuka, over 59.5. David Montgomery, over 10.5 receiving yards. Sam Laporta, over 4.5 receptions. Mike Evans, anytime touchdown. Emeka Egbuka, anytime touchdown. Sterling Shepard, anytime touchdown. Those are my 6 plays for Monday Night Football, Lions versus Bucks. Quickly, let's go talk about Seahawks versus Texans. Now, I'm going to cheat just a little bit, and I'm going to show you guys what I do before I start looking at the actual board. First thing I do is I go look at injuries, right? Let's go see. Christian Kirk is out. Jalen Reed, that's an important name. Let's go find out if he's healthy or not. Jalen Reed injury. Do a quick little Google search. Jalen Reed, he's making his Monday Night Football. Yeah, they've activated him off the PUP list. So he could be debuting tonight. He'll play an intricate part of that Houston Texans secondary. He'll probably be a rotational guy tonight. Elijah Huzzie is out. Let's look at the Seahawks. Derek Hall. Most people don't know who Derek Hall is. I think that's one of the best outside linebacker, quote unquote, edge rushers in the NFC. Josh Jones, questionable. That's an important name. DeMarcus Lawrence is playing tonight. Julian Love, that's another important name. Couple guys coming off this injury report. Reek Woolen, let's look at two names. Reek Woolen is going to play tonight. Devon Witherspoon, he was a full participant in practice. I imagine he would play. We'll have to go take a look. So let's go take a look at Julian Love and Devon Witherspoon. Julian Love, let's see. 1 out, 3 questionable. That's as of 2 days ago. That's not what I want to see. I want to see current updates. Seahawks ruled out Derek Hall, Julian Love, Devon Witherspoon are questionable. Josh Jones is a rotational offensive lineman as of right now. No update as of yet. Still questionable for Julian Love. He was a limited participant in practice. If I had to guess, Devon Witherspoon's going to play tonight with a full participation in practice just a couple days ago. That's the kind of information that I'm trying to churn out here. Let's go take. So basically what I'm saying is this Seahawks secondary is elite when they're healthy, and it looks like they're going to be as healthy as they've been in the last few weeks versus the Texans who are on the road. The Texans offense has struggled tremendously so far this season. Now versus the Ravens, they got up 44. That Ravens team was missing, I believe, 12 of their 22 starters. So there's not really that much to write home about in this game. Yeah, they scored 44, but look at the actual games where they're playing good defenses. 9 points to the Rams, 19 to the Buccaneers, 10 to the Jags, 26 to the Titans, and that was a Titans game that the Titans just threw away game after or drive after drive after drive. So they play a good defense in their first 3 games. Their offense looks atrocious. Now they are coming off a bye week. They probably have gotten a few things corrected, specifically with Nico Collins and his abilities to actually impact the game. Seahawks a -3 favorite. They've won 4 of their first 6 games. They lost versus the Buccaneers in a shootout. They lost a slop fest versus San Francisco. I believe that was a rainy one as well. But outside of that, they have a great road win against the Steelers. They dominated the Saints. They won a gritty divisional matchup on Thursday Night Football versus the Cardinals, and then they beat the Jacksonville Jaguars in London last week. So this is also a major factor. The Seahawks elected to not take a bye week after going to London. Yeah, this was a London game. So that's real. Am I wrong about that? Let me look at this and double check and make sure. I'm like 99% certain that game was in London. So they're, to my knowledge, they're traveling back from London and they're expecting to play here. Now, Devon Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, and Julian Love did not play. Did the Seahawks play in London? Google will give me the best answer for the 2025 season. Where did they play? The 2025 teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, Seahawks not among them. Did they play that game in Jacksonville? Am I just stupid? I might be. Let's check the Jacksonville Jaguars like official schedule. Seahawks. Where did it go down? Yeah, it was in Jacksonville. I don't know what I'm thinking here. So never mind about the London comments. Misfire by me, I guess. But the Seahawks here still traveling all the way back from Jacksonville, Florida to Seattle. That's a long travel. Meanwhile, the Texans were in Baltimore. They go back to Houston and they travel to Seattle. That's a lot of travel. Both of these teams a little injury plagued and tired. So I don't necessarily think this game is going to be that exciting to watch. It's happening at 9 p.m. Central Time tonight. So a lot of you probably won't even be awake for that game. I probably am going to go to bed, but I'm sure there's some value here. Let's take a look at our trending insights tool on doinksports.com. By the way, I'll say it once again, guys, go look at doinksports.com. You could find so much value here. Leverage using our tools to help you make smarter, more educated wagers. Please gamble responsibly. If you got an issue, reach out to somebody, call the hotline. It's an important thing to talk about. But let's continue. We'll use our NFL trending insights page. Now, some of this stuff is a little lopsided because you see some lines here that aren't realistic, but here are some actual ones, right? Jackson Smith and Jigba over 89.5 yards receiving. He's done, or this is rushing and receiving. He's done this in 6 of his 6 last games. It's minus 114 using underdog. We'll take a look at that prop in just a little bit. Sam Darnold over longest completion, 35.5 yards. Done this in 6 of his last 6. QB1s have thrown a pass longer than 35.5 yards in 8 of the last 10 versus the Texans. They're averaging 48 yards. That's an interesting insight there. Both of these, kind of cool. So I'm going to write these down so we can come back to them. JSN over 89.5. Rush. Oh, I'm hitting the space bar on my keyboard. And receiving, Darnold over 35.5 long completion. Let's go first, take a look at, we'll get to the weather here in a minute. Let's continue to look at some of these insights. JSN over 27.5 longest reception, done this in 6 of his last 6. Cooper Kupp over first quarter receptions. He's done this in 4 of his last 5. It's minus 154. I tend to stay away from these minus 150 picks. Even though the Texans have allowed this to wide receiver 2s, I'm going to stay away from that. But that's an interesting insight there. 80% hit rate in his last 5, 100% hit rate in the last 5 for the Texans. Dalton Schultz over 6.5 receiving yards. The Seahawks have allowed this in 5 of the last 6. The Texans have done this in 5 of their last 5 on the road. That's an interesting insight. Minus 105 via FanDuel. Definitely a pick to check out. Seahawks over 18.5 points. That's a minus 250 bet. Tend to stay away from those. Let's continue to look here. CJ Stroud over first quarter rushing attempts. Oh, no, I'm sticking away from that. That sounds bad. Houston Texans over 3.5 fourth quarter points. That's an interesting line to look at. I like that. Nico Collins under 34.5 receiving yards in the first half. He has not done this in 5 games so far this season. That's an interesting one to look at there. We'll pay attention to that. I'm going to write that one down. Nico under first half receiving yards. Cooper Kupp under touchdown minus 297. Nope. Let's see. Kenneth Walker under 24.5 first half rushing yards. Hasn't done this in his first 5 games. Or has done this in his first 5 games. Very interesting. Averaging only 14.2 rushing yards in the first half so far this season. Very interesting. Oh, that's at home. Excuse me. Seahawks and Texans under third quarter total. Okay. So I've got some valuable info here, and we're looking at JSN and Sam Darnold. Those are our value picks here. Let's go to the trend, or let's go to the game. Look at the overview. The weather says 53 degrees in Seattle, partly cloudy. Let's go take a look at an overarching Seattle weather forecast. No chance of precipitation tonight as it looks. Doesn't look like it's going to be raining. Let's see, 10 p.m. Nope, no chance of precipitation here. So it doesn't look like it's going to be a rainy game. Doesn't look like it's rained earlier today. So just kind of a damp, cold game in Seattle. Pretty typical, right, for Seattle, Washington. Let's go start and take a look at some of our player props here. We'll start with the Seahawks since we got some insights there with our trending insights tool. Let's see what the lines are looking like overall. Sam Darnold over 225.5. He's done this in 7 of his last 10. Now, he was with the Vikings last season, so we'll extrapolate this down to his last 5. He's done this in 4 of his last 5. He's averaging 278 in his last 5 games. Wow. In his last 5, he's thrown 4, 8, 10, 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. That's pretty impressive. Meanwhile, the Texans so far this season in their 5 games are only allowing 193 yards, less than a touchdown, and they're intercepting more than they're giving up. They've only given up 3 touchdowns. They've intercepted the ball 5 times. That's a Texans secondary and pass rush that is probably the best in the league. Let's go take a look at their statistics overall. Look at some of these lines. Second in wide receiver touchdowns given up, fifth in tight end touchdowns given up. Now, 26th in rushing touchdowns given up to running backs. Let's take a look here. Third in or they're fifth in the league in receiving yards given up overall. Quarterbacks, they haven't given up a single rushing touchdown. I kind of like what the Texans have got cooking up here. I mean, they are unbelievably elite in pass coverage. And then looking at the Seahawks defense, they've been pretty damn good against the run. 61.5 yards allowed on the ground, just fifth in touchdowns allowed to running backs, no touchdowns given up to quarterbacks. They're kind of weak against tight ends, 57.67 yards allowed to tight ends, 257 yards total allowed. Here's a key number that I'm looking at, 52 yards per game allowed to running backs. So that's a key insight that I want to take a look at. So RB receiving yards for the Texans. We'll take a look at that. So let's go back to the player props. And we'll first, like I said, we're going to look at Sam Darnold. The Texans defense has been so good so far this season. They look relatively healthy. Sam Darnold's line at 225.5 seems pretty on the mark for what we're going to be looking at here. At home, they held Baker to 215, even though that was a shootout. They held at home Cam Ward to 108. Meanwhile, Darnold at home, 218 and 341. Oh, wait, so this is on the road. 245 on the road for the Texans, 222 on the road to Trevor Lawrence, 179. So I don't like that 225 line. Over under 1.5 passing touchdowns. I don't hate it at plus 152. That's via ProfitX. Let's go take a look at some of the real ones. Plus 135 ESPN Bet. Given the Texans have only allowed this one time so far this season, it was to Baker. I don't love it, but we'll come back to that prop. Darnold as an anytime touchdown, plus 1,000. That's kind of crazy. Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown, plus 165. Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown, plus 163. Let's see who has, they pretty much, so Charbonnet gets the lion's share of the red zone touches. We'll go with the Zach Charbonnet anytime touchdown. Let's go and make sure let's see if their touches are even over the last few games to make sure that we're not accidentally giving this up to somebody that's going to end up getting the lion's share of the touches. Last 5 games, 13, 16, 19, 10, and 10. Zach Charbonnet, 12, 15, 12, 9, and 12. So they're pretty much 50-50. We'll go with a Zach Charbonnet anytime touchdown here, just because we can see here that he's getting 3.8 red zone rush attempts so far this season. The Texans have given up 1 touchdown to running backs pretty much every game. So Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown, plus 154 using underdog. So Zach Charb, anytime touchdown, plus 154. Underdog. Okay. So the Texans defense is still pretty good at stopping the run. They're 10th. That's their weakest spot in terms of allowing yards. Or they're actually 11th in allowing receiving yards, but 78 yards, 77 yards per game on the ground is extremely impressive. So I pretty much want to stick away from both of these guys' rushing props. And the reason that I do that is committee running backs scare me. I mean, both of these guys could get going. Both of these guys could get stopped. You see Charbonnet, 12 carries, 24 yards against the Jags. And then Kenneth Walker, 10 carries, 34 yards against the Jags. So both of these guys' props are at 49 and 38. I don't love either of those considering they're averaging. Now, Kenneth Walker's averaging over that, but versus this Texans defense, I just can't guarantee that he's going to get more than 11 or 12 carries. We see that green light here. Well, once again, we'll come back to this. I'm iffy on this play. If I was going to do something, I would I wouldn't even do over 53. I might do over 59.5 plus 154. The Texans have allowed it in 3 of their 12 games to running back ones, but who knows? Who knows? We're going to come back to this. I see some value here, but we'll come back to it. JSN, this is the guy that I want to look at. He's averaging 6.5 catches a game. His line is at 6.5 plus 100. He's averaging 114 yards so far this season. He's kind of in that Puka Nacua talk, who got 10 catches, 130 yards. Now the wide receiver ones that the Texans have gone up against since then, Brian Thomas Jr. has not had a great season. Calvin Ridley has not had a great season. Zay Flowers was the closest to that at 72. Meanwhile, Emeka Egbuka, a rookie, right? So they have not played that many elite wide receiver ones, especially like JSN, who I think is first in the league in receiving yards. So I'd be eyeing up this 85.5. The problem with that is that's via ProfitX. You won't get a main book plus odds until you get to 89.5. You get 99.5 plus 146. That's a little too close for comfort. I mean, that's a lot of yards on an elite Texans secondary. JSN touchdown is plus 146 via Novig. Cooper Kupp touchdown is plus 285. Oh, I don't like that either. Torrey Horton has caught 3 touchdowns. I think a couple of these were on punts. Maybe one of them was on punts, but he's not a guy that I'm really looking at here. AJ Barner has been a consistent weapon for the Seahawks. His line is at 24.5. Now, let's take a look here. Chig Okonkwo, not an elite tight end. Mark Andrews with Cooper Rush. Yeah, Cooper Rush, not going to be an elite option. But Cade Otton, top 15 tight end. Brenton Strange has turned into a top 10 tight end. He actually had some good yardage here. And then, who is this? Tyler Higbee, 0 catches. That's surprising. But what I do like here is that he's averaging 41. His line's at 24. We see when tight ends get targeted like this, right? He's averaging 3.4 targets. They're averaging 3.4 targets. The average here is 22.5. We're pretty close to that line, and that line's at 41. So the differential here, right, is we're giving up 2 yards on the line from 22 to 24, and we're taking away 7. What is that? 10? Yeah, 17 yards from this line. So I'm more likely to go over 29.5 plus 142. That's my line here. AJ Barner plus 142. FanDuel over 29.5. I like that line a lot. He's caught 4 touchdowns so far this season, and he's at plus 370. That seems like a value play to me. Now, the Texans are, once again, elite against the pass. The Seahawks love to run the football here. AJ Barner's caught the most touchdowns, or actually scored the most touchdowns out of anybody, and he's plus 370. I would throw a little cheddar on that as well. So I'm placing a unit on that. AJ Barner, anytime touchdown. Plus 370. I mean, that's just a value play that you can't ignore. Now let's go look at some Texans lines here. We've talked about the Seahawks a lot. Let's find some value on the Texans side of things. For starters, CJ Stroud has not been good at all this season. And I would not put that on CJ Stroud. I'm specifically talking about the Houston Texans offensive line. I think that even though they've had a bye week, let me double check this and make sure that statistically I'm backing this up correctly. You see, we got a good amount of viewers in here right now. Welcome in, everybody. We're about to do a full recap. As a matter of fact, 2 minutes before Monday Night Football starts, I'll do a recap of our Lions-Buccaneers game. Be sure to look at Emeka Egbuka, over 59.5 receiving yards. David Montgomery, over 10.5 receiving yards. Sam Laporta, over 4.5 receptions. Mike Evans, anytime touchdown. Emeka Egbuka, anytime touchdown. Sterling Shepard, anytime touchdown. Those 3 plays, book them. Those 6 plays. Go ahead and book them up. Let's see here. NFL stats. I'm just using standard ESPN real quick. Team stats. Offensive leaders. Sacked. Let's see. Where is CJ Stroud? Despite having a bye week last week, CJ Stroud is still a top 10 most sacked quarterback in the league. That's pretty bad, ladies and gentlemen. That's pretty damn bad. Stroud has had better pocket protection the last couple weeks. They have gotten some success out of him, 6 touchdowns in his last 2 games, but played some really crappy teams in the Titans and the Ravens. When he plays good defenses like the Buccaneers, he struggles. 13 for 24, 207, no interceptions. But versus the Jags, 25 for 38, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not great at all. So looking at CJ Stroud, his attempts is at 32.5. He hasn't really done that so far this season. The Seahawks have forced quarterbacks to pass the football a lot this season. Their line's at 37.6. Completion wise, CJ Stroud is actually averaging around 20.5. His completion numbers at 21.5. I mean, since the Seahawks have forced so many passes, obviously they've gone over that line 80% of the time. I just don't think that the Texans are going to do that tonight in kind of a coldish, uh, damp, maybe slop fest. I mean, the under is at 41. Seahawks are only -3. So I don't see CJ Stroud throwing more than 35 passes tonight. And if that's the case, I can't really see him completing that many of those just because the Seahawks are back with their defense. You can see how Baker Mayfield cut him up 29 for 33. I believe Witherspoon, Reek Woolen, and Julian Love missed that game. Trevor Lawrence, 27 for 42, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. I think all 3 of those guys missed last week as well. So these 3 games are kind of what we're looking at here with a healthy Seahawks defense, and one of these games is at home. I don't know. Those are just my thoughts off the top of my head. Now, Nick Chubb consistently, right, has gotten 13, 12, 9, 13, 11. He's averaging 11.5 attempts. His line's at 10.5. I'd be willing to take that over tonight. Woody Marks has seen an increase in his production here, 3, 3, 6, 17, and 7. But his line here is sitting at 29.5. Do not love that at all. Let's do a quick Google search and make sure that Woody Marks. I'm thinking of the freaking director. Woody Marks. Let's see. Winning trust in Texans backfield, according to Sports Illustrated. That was a day ago. Has he been, how involved has he been in the passing game? Nick Chubb, 0.2320. Woody Marks, 1.140. I see some people on here saying Woody Marks over 14.5 receiving yards. Don't know why that would be a play. Don't really see anything to back it up here. By the way, before I end this stream, drop your Monday Night Football plays in the chat. I'd love to talk about them. I'm very curious to see what everybody's got here. But I'm looking at Nico Collins. His line is at 5.5. Oh, I don't like that at all. 73.5 yards. Don't like that either. Anytime touchdown plus 155. I don't hate that. 3 touchdowns in 5 games. Let's look at the touchdown screen here. The Seahawks have given up 1 touchdown per game to wide receivers. It's hard to pick who's going to score the anytime touchdown here for the Texans. They're 5th in the league in giving up touchdowns to running backs. The Texans are passing the football 60% of the time. So even though Chubb and Woody Marks are really juiced odds, don't love that. Nico Collins, anytime touchdown. He scored the most touchdowns out of anybody. So I don't hate that. Let's see. A Dalton Schultz touchdown is plus 370. He hasn't scored a touchdown all season long. Very interesting. Let's go take a look at his games from last season on the road. Okay. I think Dalton Schultz might get in the end zone tonight. The Seahawks are pretty weak against tight ends here. As you can see, 22nd in the league in yards given up, 20th in the league in touchdowns given up. Dalton Schultz is far and away the tight end 1 for the Texans. Let's go take a look at his workload. Scroll up here and take a look at his workload. Yeah, Harrison Bryant, tight end number 2, total of 3 targets on the season. Meanwhile, Schultz, 5, 4, 6, 6, and 6. Yeah, anytime touchdown, Dalton Schultz. Plus 370 via DraftKings. So, I mean, if one of those touchdowns ends up going through, that pretty much covers the rest of these picks for this game. Outside of that, Nick Chubb over rushing yards. I don't hate it. His line's at 36.5. And he's playing against the Seahawks defense who have allowed this. But that's off of 14 carries, 18 carries, 14 carries. They're letting this go over. 12 carries. That's a kind of a Nick Chubb line. 27. 8 carries, 35. I don't like it. I'm sticking away from this. This is a tough game to pick. If I had to go with anything here at home, the Seahawks have been not great, actually, sides-wise. They've only covered a 3-3 spread in their last 10 games. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games at home. The Texans are 5-5 in their last 10 games on the road. That's it. That's an interesting inquiry there. I'd stick away from the sides tonight. Over under. Last thing before I close out this stream. Welcome into everybody who's just now getting here. Love to see you guys in the chat as this Texans game is just now, or the Buccaneers game is kicking off. Over under 41. The Seahawks have gotten into a couple shootouts here. This game, once again, without Reek Woolen, Julian Love, and Devon Witherspoon at home. The Texans have gotten into some slop fest so far this season. I don't like any of that in terms of those lines. I'm looking at these plays. So officially for this game, we've got Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown, AJ Barber, anytime touchdown, Dalton Schultz, anytime touchdown, AJ Barber over 29.5 yards receiving. These are all plus money plays. Go check them out for yourselves. I'm looking just one more time to see if I see anything that I love here. Wide receiver 2 for the Texans. Didn't really look at the wide receivers here. Jaden Higgins has not been a consistent target. Xavier Hutchinson has, but not by a lot. And his line's at 20.5. That seems like a pretty big margin here. The Seahawks have given that up in 4 of their 5 games. You could find it 24.5 is plus 134. Don't hate that. CJ Stroud. Let me do one more little piece of research before I get into closing this out. Now, the Seahawks' best edge rusher / I guess outside linebacker, Derek Hall, is out for this game. Let's see what the Seahawks are like pass rush wise, because that's obviously the weak spot of this Texans offense is getting to CJ Stroud and sacking him. He's been sacked 14 times so far this season. Let's look at NFL team stats, ESPN. Defensively, in the pass, the Seahawks rank 4th in the league in sacks. They've gotten 20 sacks so far this season. So I don't love any of the passing props here for Stroud in what is projected to be a pretty low-scoring game. 227.5 is a lot. So I'm not gonna go with any of that. Dalton Schultz, I guess I like him in his receptions prop. 4.5 though, plus money. Let's see what we have here at a major book. Let's track this up at a major book. It's plus 110. Still don't love that, even though he's caught 5 in his last 3 games. He's caught 3 in his first 2. And his line's at 38.5. I don't love that either. We see the Seahawks are kind of weak against good tight ends, right? Trey McBride, 7 catches, 52 yards. Juwan Johnson, who I think is a really underrated tight end, 6 catches, 51 yards. Cade Otton, 4 catches, 81 yards. Brenton Strange, I don't believe, played against the Seahawks last week. Okay, that's interesting. Dalton Schultz. We have him in anytime touchdown. We're going to stick with those plays here. So as transparent as I can be possible, these are our plays for tonight. We already talked about our Bucks Lions plays. Let's talk about Seahawks versus Texans. Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown. AJ Barber, anytime touchdown. Dalton Schultz, anytime touchdown. AJ Barber over 29.5 receiving yards. That's going to do it for this stream, guys. Go check out doinksports.com for yourself. I picked up all 10 of my plays tonight using the website. Be sure to check me out at Plaisant, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I talk college football, NFL, and NBA content. NBA season starts tonight. We will be doing an NBA stream, so stay tuned for that. Be sure to join the Discord. You can check out the doinksports.com website, and you can see the Discord here at the bottom right there, Discord. So thanks, guys, so much for watching.